In our module on value stream mapping, we saw value satisfies, it's what customer is willing to pay for really. Every value creation process has steps that don't add value. And the goal of lean is to improve flow of value by eliminating or minimizing these non-value added steps, non-value adding steps. To make value adding steps and non-value adding steps visible, we map the entire process end to end, and that is called value stream mapping. We also saw an example of doctor's office visit and we created a value stream map for it. Now, let's begin the next step, value stream analysis. Here we wanted to introduce a new concept, a concept from lean world. This is called waste. In lean, waste is anything that stops value from flowing through a value stream. Waste is a barrier to value flow. Waste interrupts value flow. Waste is non-value adding. Now, as you can see, this definition of waste is pretty generic. So to give it some objectivity and format, lean categorizes waste into 8 different categories. Now don't get confused if you look online and see 7 wastes, 9 wastes or any other number of wastes. Typically it started with 7, but then human potential waste was added into those 7 and now that's 8. So there are 8 categories of waste lean identifies, and there are a couple of monikers, couple of nicknames for that. One is Timwood, Timwood, and the other is downtime, Downtime. And each letter in these 2 words represents a waste, a category of waste. For the purpose of our video and analysis of wastes in this video, we are going to use downtime. Why? We are not trying to play favorites between Timwood and downtime. Downtime just sounds more logical in the sense of what we are trying to do here. We are trying to increase efficiencies, make processes better, improve them, make them more efficient. So we are going to use downtime. Now let's see a category represented by each letter of this word, downtime. D stands for defects, mistakes, errors. O stands for overproduction, producing something when there is no demand, producing something just in case required. Waiting is everywhere. Non-utilized human potential or talent. Now, for example, if I'm a doctor and I have to clean rooms in between 2 patients, now is that the best use of my time? I have to do many other things that can only be done by doctor. So non-utilized talent or non-utilized human potential. T, transportation, moving patients around or moving your product around if you are working in a manufacturing industry. Inventory. Inventory is supplies, stockpiles that we use, and anything that comes under it is sitting on the shelf. Motion. Motion is where the workers move around to get the work done. If the people working in the process have to move around just to do their work, that is considered waste, and that comes under motion waste. And the last one is extra processing. Now, processing anything more than it's actually required is a waste because it takes time, and time is money, so there is cost associated with that. So the last or 8th waste is extra processing. So defects, overproduction, waiting, non-utilized talent, transportation, inventory, motion, and extra processing are our 8 lean wastes, our non-value adding activity categories. Now let's slow down a little bit and take example. It's better to explain these 8 types of wastes or categories of wastes with examples. Let's go back again to our doctor's office value stream, and let's see if we can identify the waste, the potential wastes in that value stream, all the steps in that value stream. The first one, defects. What kind of defects or errors or mistakes can happen in patient's doctor's office visit? There could be wrong diagnosis. Doctor detects something completely wrong. Appointment scheduling mistakes. These are very common. Appointments are mismanaged or not scheduled properly many times. Prescription errors, wrong medications given or wrong medications prescribed. Payment errors, wrong charges, wrong bills to wrong patients, or you are charged for wrong services, any of those combinations. So these are some examples of defects that can happen, or errors, mistakes that can happen in that doctor's office example. The next one is overproduction, producing something when it's not required. Example could be doctor prints something for you to take away when it's already in the electronic health record, and you can access that from your computer or from your phone. You really don't need a print. Or printing bills for you, bills of payment. So that is another overproduction example. Waiting. This is literally everywhere. Count number of times our patient had to wait, and for the time patient had to wait in our example. Non-utilized talent. I talked about doctor having to clean rooms in between patients. That's an example of non-utilized talent. It could be anyone in that process. It could be doctor's assistant, medical assistant, junior doctor who is not doing what they are supposed to do. Is waste of human talent, waste of human potential. And we also see that people have ideas, and those ideas, if not captured and implemented, that is also considered as waste of talent or potential. T for transportation. This is very typical in healthcare. Different services in different locations. For example, doctor's office in one place, then patient has to walk to go to another place, for example lab, or to do x-ray, or to access some other service. So services are not located, they are far apart, far away, and patient has to move. That is a transportation waste. I is inventory. Inventory is anything that sits on the shelf or sits in electronic space. If we are talking about files, reports, etc. It could be unread reports, unreleased reports, inventory sitting in your mail, in your queue. It could be physical supplies that are on the shelf. Many times those supplies expire, they just sit there and they're not used. All that is inventory waste. M for motion. People working in process have to move around to do different tasks is waste, because that's time, and time wasted is money wasted, and people have to work overtime then to complete their tasks. Last but not the least, E for extra processing. Processing something more than required. For example, doctor orders tests that are not really required for diagnosis. That comes under over processing. For example, doctor can diagnose with just an x-ray, but doctor orders an MRI, which is over processing, and it comes under over processing waste. So when you are mapping value stream, each step in a value stream, keep your eyes and ears open and note down all these wastes as you observe them, and that becomes part of our current state analysis. When we analyze the current state, we identify all this waste, and then we design strategies to remove, to eliminate this waste, and to form a better future state. Now, this is where we see different approaches taken by people. Some believe that waste identification and elimination is a continuous process, has to be done on a daily basis continuously. The other side says we can organize events, 5-day event, week-long event, and then identify and eliminate waste. Now you decide which one sounds better to you and why. To wrap this section of value stream analysis up, I'm going to ask you to look around, identify waste you see in your work or waste in the processes around you. I'm pretty sure you will be amazed to look at the waste that is simply obstructing flow of value and creates dissatisfaction for you. I'm going to stop here, but one question for you before we leave. Can you calculate cost of all the waste in the processes you work in? The next steps in this value stream analysis are going to be work on waste elimination, create the future state, and decide the path to go to the future state. How do we go from the current to the future state?